Hello, welcome. I'm here with Ronuk Raval. He is our Chief Technology Officer here at Encircle. Ronuk, you recently sat on a panel of some powerhouses in the restoration technology space, where some of the leaders were talking about um, AI and restoration. Can you tell me what your main takeaways were from that panel?
Oh yeah, it was at the Paul Davis conference. I was on there with someone from Cotality, someone from DocuSketch, and someone from Verisk, and we were, sort of presenting to various Paul Davis owners and attendees in that ecosystem about AI and restoration. And so, in terms of main takeaways, I think the overall panel, all four of us were more aligned than not. Certainly, AI is becoming ubiquitous across software, and restoration is no different. And so, each of those vendors had an AI story, but also it was interesting to see where the differences were in both culture and opinion, and how that reflected into the products that they were bringing to market.
So tell me about where was everyone on the same page in terms of AI and technology?
So a couple of funny moments in there as well. Of like, one of the questions the moderator had asked us was, should restorers be building their own AI? And everyone was empathetically no. Building AI at scale is a hard problem, especially as you generalize across inputs the AI might have never seen before. Restoration is a liability heavy, professional service. Doing this correctly requires things that general off the purpose shelf AI shouldn't do. And by and large, uh, building AI software systems is not in the wheelhouse of restoration companies. And so it's largely a distraction. So all four people were, well aligned on like, hey, don't do that. Uh, but also we're biased because we're software vendors. We
Yeah,
have
of course. Was there anything where Encircle or your position on technology differed from the other folks on the panel?
Absolutely, and I didn't intend it to, but it kind of came off like I was throwing shade at some of the other vendors, but not my intention. But certainly, there was one of the questions, or a couple of questions, followed along a theme of um, that the other vendors answered it with, "Hey, AI can make mistakes," which it absolutely can. You are responsible for verifying that the AI is producing accurate, meaningful responses, but it can hallucinate, and it can go off rails. So that's on you. But I think the position I was trying to take is that we at Encircle care a lot about field documentation and the signals that it can get, and producing reliable, robust results at scale. And also having the AI be able to cite back why it believes certain things, and having multiple guardrails and defense in depth, preventing the AI from inventing details, because once that cascade happens, like the AI just built on itself, and it creates a bit of a hallucination snowball. So I framed it then as sort of off the cuff as, your job isn't to beta test our software in the field. We're working really hard to make sure that AI doesn't do that. And I think some of the audience might have interpreted that as, a dig. Not my intention, but there was that's one of the points of differentiation.
Great. So this leads me into one of my next questions, because you, as chief technology officer at Encircle, you're the one, the buck stops here, making the architectural calls on what Encircle AI does and doesn't do. So from an engineering perspective, where do you and your team draw the line on what AI should fully own versus what should stay with a human? And how does that decision actually get made as you're building Encircle AI products?
Totally. So a few ways to answer that. I'll start directly on the question you asked, which is the like where does AI live, and where does the human shine? And I think there's no replacing taste and judgment. Um, and so there are certain aspects that an AI just can't tell based on pixels alone. It doesn't know that a dark carpet, whether it's dark or if it's wet, and it's up to us building responsible AI systems to ensure that an AI doesn't guess, and start building a narrative that doesn't isn't supported by the reality. So I absolutely believe that the human in the loop and the taste and judgment that goes into restoration is absolutely essential. Where AI belongs is in automating administrative and tedious tasks, in making sure, being sort of a belt and suspender system to make sure that things aren't being missed, and that like, rules are being applied consistently. And it's sort of a, hey, do you think about this? That you can kind of prompt the user into ensuring that everything is happening consistently in compliance, so on and so forth. So that's really where AI is thriving and shining.
Great. And from an engineering, you talked about how Encircle is sort of in the field documentation world. That's where we've been for 14 years. But from an engineering standpoint, where does field documentation or field data capture still fall short? And what does Encircle AI or AI tools fundamentally need from the field that it might not be getting today? Like what more could we be feeding the AI engine from a field documentation standpoint?
Oh, I mean, so of course, like pictures, videos, voice, those are like what I consider primary signals. And Encircle is a great tool for that because it's right there. It's sort of in the workflow with you in the field, and so we can capture those primary signals. But the other part that I think is equally important, that really helps our AIs, is all of the metadata that comes with that, timestamps and geolocations and other things that we also capture while you're capturing those primary signals. We can use that to infer how long it's been since the homeowner reported the loss, to when you showed up on site, to the pictures that you started taking, and especially in mitigation, things can deteriorate over time, and that time component is vital. And if you're having disconnected systems, let's say, where you're capturing those photos in a system A and then uploading them in system B, those timestamps and other signals can often get missed, or may not be fed into the AI model in a way. And like context and data is king. And so AI really thrives on those secondary signals. And that's where we shine with bringing AI into the field.
Super interesting. You used the term hallucination snowball, I think, earlier. That's
You made that up in the moment, but
no, that's super interesting. And people talk about AI hallucinating, and like, what does that mean, and all of that. But so we know that AI in restoration is now influencing estimates and claim outcomes and claim and reviews. Um, One of the things that we've talked about a lot at Encircle is accuracy, is prioritizing accuracy. So how do you, from an engineering standpoint, decide when an Encircle tool, an AI tool, is production ready, and how do you stop it from confidently filling in gaps that it shouldn't be doing, which we know a lot of generic LLMs are somewhat guilty of.
totally. In fact, that's what these models are trained on, right? Like if we think about, uh, without getting overly technical about it, like the models are rewarded for filling in those gaps, for taking a question and producing a response, regardless of how accurate or not accurate the response is, and then we reward it. And so they're incentivized to produce a response. At Encircle, we've taken great care and spent a lot of effort in productionizing our AI evaluation system. So all of our products go through a very rigorous sort of definition of what good means and what kind of failure modes we see. And we build good classifiers and other things to detect those at scale while we're building the actual product itself. So we're building two things in parallel. We're building a product that we serve our users, and then we're building these guardrails that we can use to ensure that correct answers are always coming out, or like at a good enough rate that we could productionize. And then secondarily, we often build our products in layers because we found, and the general research will support this, that if an AI confidently gives you an answer, you can ask it to find citations or try and be adversarial and work backwards as well as forwards to make sure that it's not producing a response that it's made up. It'll find out that something isn't supported in primary documentation, and then we can add that as a data quality note and produce pass that downstream.
It sounds like a justification for why you and the other panelists said, "Don't build this yourself."
Absolutely, right. Like doing this properly, for other people. I didn't say this on the panel, but like I say this internally all the time. It's one thing to use AI, to for yourself, to where you are primarily the builder as well as the user. Um, you can use AI and you know where the limitations are, and you can make it yourself go faster. It's another where you're the builder and someone else is a user, and there's a lot of a risk that comes along with that because you're no longer in that loop. And so doing that properly requires real engineering. And if that's not your primary forte, I would not tell you to go do that.
Good. We've actually been hearing a lot lately about in the insurance world about fraud detection and how AI can generate documentation and even generate photos that are not real. So how do you, or at Encircle, how do you ensure that the output that we're producing holds up to scrutiny of carriers, auditors, and legal liability? Um,
Yeah, and so like philosophically, I would say that we are like we will absolutely adopt authenticity measures where possible. But I do think that people that are not in Circle are playing this cat and mouse game of trying to do detection after the fact. And yes, OpenAI and Google and they're working together to create fingerprints that can be like detected. But really, it's like there's a lot there that's going to go back and forth over time. I truly believe that that's not a game that on its own it solves the overall problem. Like chain of custody is a very important thing, and so I go back to sort of those secondary signals I talked about: timestamps, geolocates, what application version and operating system was running when the picture was captured, and was it captured in our app versus uploaded on a desktop computer that could have been altered. All of those, once they get into our systems and have this long sort of audit trail, we can provide that trail of authenticity that can help mitigate fraud as well. So I think it's a nuanced, complex story, and each of these is a piece
yeah.
of the puzzle there.
So we're thinking of it as field first and addressing it at the capture, the source of capture, rather than implementing measures to detect
After
it
the fact,
after
yeah,
the fact.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's a couple more questions, and then before we wrap up, there's some real anxiety in the industry about what AI is going to do and how it's going to change things. Um, what does it look like when it's actually making the best people better instead of replacing your cheapest labor? I guess if that makes sense.
yeah. Or like I think the crux of your question is like there are people that are deploying AI sort of as a bolt-on of like, hey, here's this capability. I've heard about it. Like, let's maybe use it here and there. And then there's people that are like investing in their best people and saying, hey, how can I get you to do more of the things only you can do and take away the rest? um, right. So like, for restoration contractors, it's like, how can I get you doing more restoration, more time with the customer, more things that are unique to that job rather than um, you know texting people or coordinating schedules or all of the other administrative, making reports, other things. So that's sort of how I would answer that question. Or like we want to enable our best to be to do more of their best. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, great, great. Thank you so much, Ronak, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And I'm sure that everybody on that panel and the audience was super appreciative of hearing from you as well.
Yeah, it was
So,
a great panel.
all right, thanks so much, Ronak.
Thank you. Bye.